welcome to another installment of Nain's Shorts. Your first time viewer, thank you very much. Like and subscribe, share, please. It does help us out a lot. For those that don't know, we are here in Physique Magnifique in South San Francisco. That's 387 Grand Avenue. Our home. Come visit us sometime. Take a look at our facilities if you're in the area, and let's have some fun. Let's play a little. So, today I wanted to talk about this video that I happened to watch a few days ago. It rose a lot of questions in my head. As usual, that's the process of figuring out, beyond anything else, me, my interpretation of the information that I'm coming across, whether it's in a video or one of my instructors or any of the people that are willing to share information with us. And it's a handsome devil, SOB. But I started wondering, what is he trying to get across, other than beating up an elderly Filipino man with some hair issues. I'm sure you've guessed by now that I am talking about my last shorts, where I was talking about some of the things that I've come across that I've learned through footwork, and the importance of what it becomes afterwards, after the basic ideas are being taught. And I started wondering, okay, what am I putting across on camera? What are you, the viewers, taking from it? And are they matching up? Are you getting what I hope you're getting? Or is it totally off the mark? And I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on that itself, the purpose of these videos. Now, I mentioned the bladed mind quite often in my last video, and I just want to clarify that the bladed mind itself is not a fighting system. Now, Danny created the bladed mind, and what it became was a learning process, a teaching methodology, because in his studies it became very clear that teaching well and learning well go hand in hand. So there's a dynamic that one feeds the other. So we're always a student, and when we get to a point where we can share information, we're still that same student, but now it is upon the individual to teach themselves. And that is what the bladed mind represents. It's not a style. We don't have a full system. We have very rudimentary movements that were once Pikiti Tertia, that Danny learned for maybe a year during his military time. But nothing beyond that, nothing enough to say it's a complete system. Nowhere near the same version now than it was back then. The movements themselves are very basic. Movements such as right to left in a diagonal line, left to right in a diagonal line, horizontal left to right, horizontal right to left. Very basic. And the point of the movements is to have a foundation, a baseline of information that the students can perform, because again, it doesn't take a lot to do them. And then we can tack on the ideas, and more importantly, the process of how to get information from point A to point B. Point A being the reference, the instructor, the source of where that's coming from, and point B, the individual. How are they taking it? How are they receiving it? And what are they doing with it? Now, once you get to that point, it's the individual's responsibility to do with it what they will. And that's what I'm doing here in these videos. I'm not promoting the bladed mind. I'm sharing with you my journey, my faults, my issues, my insecurities. Rick says my successes, but I honestly have no real sense on how to really give them any sort of measure. Because Even though I'm confident in what I know, I look at all these other instructors, even my instructors, and don't tell him this because he might get a big head. But I do look up to him, as short as he is. I do look up to him, and I do that with many other masters. I look up to them, and even some black belts that I've met that are just, in my mind, amazing. And I look up at them at the podium, at the pedestal that I set them upon, or sometimes, depending on how I feel, I'm somewhere in a deep hole and they're just standing on level ground. But whatever the analogy you'd like to use, I think a lot of us do look up to the people that came before us. But there is a time and a place to show confidence. And that's when you're in front of an audience, when you are asked to share what you do. You have to be confident. In those times, you really have to know what you're talking about. And I saw that in the last video that I did, that I was very confident in what I was saying. I was also a little overexcited because I hadn't done a video in a while, not in person, because of COVID. So that too came across. And you have to do that in order to get the attention of the people in front of you, as an instructor, as somebody who's essentially performing in front of somebody, large group or an individual. You're giving something of yourself when you do that, the interpretation of the information that you are now passing on. But you gain the respect of people when you remember that once you're done, you walk back down that podium, you walk back down that pedestal. And the way that you present it while you're up there, showing respect to the people, that's another way that you can gain some respect from your fellow colleagues or from total strangers who one day may want to train with you because they liked what you had to say. So it really brought up a lot of questions of what am I really trying to accomplish here? And it's not to promote an art, it's not to say one way is better than the other. It is really just to share the questions that I personally have in my journey. For me, this may be a journey of self-discovery, but it's through the training aspect that I'm figuring this stuff out. And I hope that it raises questions on your end. Not so much, can I do what he's doing? Because I don't expect that. I don't believe that that's what we should strive for. But rather, just ask questions to deepen your understanding of what you know. Because you, the audience, you probably have years and years of training and an entire system under your belt that you can pull from, that you can rely on, that you can express or share or teach. I don't have that. All I have is a thinking process that allows me to break things down as best as I possibly can for myself. And in sharing that, I hope it just adds to what you already do. And I'm going to give a quick example of what I mean by that. Now, I'm going to put this stick up. Now, earlier today I was asked to do a right cross, and automatically I threw a right cross, right? Cross body, a right cross. Now, most people recognize that. And my question to that is, do you, the individual, do you punch that way? I don't. Again, we don't have a fighting system under us, behind us. So we don't actually punch this way. But why do I know it? Well, one, it's a very common thing. But two, and I think this is the important part, if I'm trying to get something across to a larger audience, to a newer student, I have to present something that can bridge the gap between what they know and what I know. A right cross is identifiable. Easily, whether they practiced it or not, you can say that you've seen it at one point in your life. And from that, we can start tacking on ideas and concepts to to figure out how best you can use that movement. Because you may not have the physicality, the training to be able to effectively use a right cross. But the extension of your right arm, there may be ways to utilize the rest of the mechanics in your body. So then yours may look like this. Now, is it really a right cross? No, it is merely an extension of the right arm. But now I'm utilizing all my mechanics in a short, compressed area to deliver it. Why? Because the ideas and concepts that I've learned along the way from this motion have been added to it. And more importantly, I've adapted it to the way I am capable of moving. Sure, with training, with exercise and conditioning, I may be able to throw a very effective right cross. And if you already know how to do that, awesome. I think you're great. But I can't. And at this point, I choose not to. I know it, so I can convey information to other people, but I don't punch that way. I don't want to punch that way. I've developed how my body works. I figured out what works for me. And if we can get anything across through these videos, is simply that. How to take what you already do, whatever it may be, and make the connections yourself as to what I'm showing. The movements that I try to use in these videos are very generic, very simplistic, for that very reason. So you can take it and say, okay, I see what he's doing. I wouldn't do it that way. Oh, that's reminiscent of this angle. That's reminiscent of this technique. Okay, what is he talking about beyond the physical? Oh, okay, the concept of what I'm looking at. Okay, how does that change the way that I now see something that I've been doing for a couple months or maybe several years? Can I use that information to deepen my understanding of what you are truly capable of with what you already have? Not to change the things that you do, merely enhance it, dig a little deeper, maybe ask questions that you may not have thought of up until this point, or maybe you forgot because you moved on to another series of techniques or another series of angles of attack, and you forgot about that one. Oh, that one little piece. Now I can look at it different because now I've advanced my training so much that when I do go back to the very basic, because we never go beyond the basics in what we do, I'm still doing the very same angles I did 8 years ago. I just have a deeper understanding of them and am able to make them versatile for me. Because if the technique is to go right, left, okay, right, left, from a right cross to a jab, okay, that's very simple 1-2. Although for you boxers out there, I know it's 1-2 the other way. But we started with the right cross, so I'm going along with the same pattern again for the sake of the information following along. But the things that I'm talking about is now, what if I do move the way I've learned how to move, and my right to my left? My left is now not a jab, but a grab. As I hit somebody in the solar plexus with my right extension, I go and I grab so they can't get any further away. Because if this connects, they're going to pull back. And I don't want them to. One, because the ideas that I've learned is close quarter fighting. Because from here, I can pull in or I can move with them and throw an elbow, which after the stun of being hit in the solar plexus should get their minds off enough that I can create this technique on the fly. Now, I'm sure you've seen and you even do similar techniques, but what's the focus? Is the focus to imitate or do the movements the way that it was taught to you, or is the focus to adapt the movements to how you're capable of moving to achieve the goal, where's the focus? My focus in what I did right now wasn't so much to do the movements, but to hurt the person in front of me, to keep their mind from thinking of what they're going to do next, so I can accomplish the goal, which is to end the fight and walk away. For me, that's my purpose of training, is to survive a violent attack. What's your purpose? Is it to be in the ring? Is it for health reasons? Is it just to congregate with like-minded people? Is it to teach the art the way that it was taught to you, to keep the traditions alive? All are great reasons to do so. But how we train, how we view things, how we interpret them, and how we do them, that's you, the individual. It's not your master, it's not your lineage, it's not your art, it is you who makes it great. And because of that, that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm great, but I'm working towards it. And I'm doing so in front of a camera, because hopefully you guys have an insight that I don't. Hopefully I can trigger a question, an idea that will take you even further than where you are now. Because in my personal opinion, there is no peak. There is no end to the training. There is always more to learn. But how we learn, well, we can always do that more effectively too. So hopefully my videos come across in that way. And if they don't, let me know, because I would love to get feedback. I would love to get questions from the audience, because I do it for you guys as much as I do it for myself. Because it's a very personal thing for me. I want to grow, and this is the way that it turned into. This is how it's become my lessons, my level 5, as we say. Because now I have to explore and figure out how Nain is taking in this information, and how Nain is giving out that information. Nothing like the way Rick has said it to me, nothing like the way Danny has said it to me. This is all me. Pretty in the raw and pretty vulnerable. So, don't hurt my ego. I appreciate it. So, in the grand scheme of things, these basic movements, these things that I've been doing for 8 years, what do they look like now? Well, they move differently. Why? Because my purpose for using them is different. Now, are they pretty? Maybe. But in my mind, it's not about being pretty. It's about being able to hit my targets where I need to hit them. It's about accomplishing my goal of why I'm swinging a stick to begin with. Why those movements, very basic, have become these things, have turned into what I need them to be for that moment. How do I take what was given to me way back when and carry it forward till now, until tomorrow? I'm just really excited to see myself 5 years from now and look back and think, man, what kind of crap was I spewing back then? Because I hope that I have advanced that much that this becomes my white belt level. So, thank you very much for joining me on Nain Shorts. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Till the next one. 3, 2,